Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Layla and today I'm giving y'all a finance update for Q4 2024. On a monthly basis, I do film a finance update, but for years I've also filmed quarterly updates, and I think these are awesome because you can look at things on a little bit of a larger scale and see how much you have progressed over those 3 months. I say these in just about every video because oftentimes we are looking at things on a monthly basis or even on a weekly basis or a daily basis, and it doesn't feel like you're making much progress. But when you look at the quarter, you can see how far you have come in just 3 months, and it's pretty incredible. So if you haven't reviewed your last quarter, this is your reminder to do so. In my description box, I will link to my videos for Q1, Q2, and Q3. So we are wrapping up 2024 with this video. And in these videos, I like to share my income, my investments, my savings, my net worth, and then also the goals that I set. So I'm gonna go ahead and hop right into it, starting with my income. I'm gonna scooch a bit so that there's room for me to pop things up here. Okay, so in October, from my business, I earned $4,225. These are gross earnings, by the way, so still have to pay business expenses as well as taxes. In November, I made $5,073. And then in December, I made $3,572. So altogether, I made $12,870. Next up, I'm gonna go through all my retirement accounts and investments. So starting with my Roth IRA, at the end of Q3 or the start of Q4, my Roth IRA was at $38,186. I did not contribute anything to my Roth IRA because I've already maxed it out for 2024. I did that in January of 2024. However, I ended Q4 with $39,342 in my Roth IRA. Everything here is invested in VTSAX, which is Vanguard's total stock market, and altogether that was an increase of $1,156. Next would be my SEP IRA. At the start of Q4, that was at $433. I did not contribute anything to that. I'm actually going to be rolling over my SEP IRA into my 401k just because I feel like my solo 401k is a better option for me right now. So I did not add anything to this, but at the end of Q4, that reached $446, and that's an increase of $13. Everything here, this is in Fidelity, and it's invested in FXAIX, which is the S&P 500 through Fidelity. Next up is my 401k. So I do have a solo 401k now that I'm self-employed, and then I had my 401k from my last employer. At the end of Q3 or start of Q4, that was at $37,861. I did contribute to it, so I put in $300 as the employee, but I also was matching 4% of those contributions as the employer, so that was $240 from my business. Altogether, I contributed $540. And at the end of Q4, this was at $40,671. Altogether, that's an increase of $2,810, so not too bad there. I'm only invested in 2 Vanguard funds here. One of them is VXAIX, and then the other I can never remember, so I will put it up on the screen, but both of them are Vanguard 50/50. And I contribute only to my traditional 401k. I like to have a little bit of a balance between the traditional side of things and then Roth by investing in my Roth IRA, but doing all traditional for my 401k. So that is just personal preference for me, what I like to do, not financial advice. That's just how I like to handle my investments. And then final thing here would be my brokerage account. At the start of Q4, my balance was $10,193. I did invest $165 to my brokerage account. Whenever I'm investing now to my brokerage, I purchase VGT, which is Vanguard's Information Technology Fund. However, the bulk of this money is invested in VTI, which is the ETF version of the total stock market with Vanguard. But yeah, for now, I've just been doing VGT there, and it was just $165. So by the end of Q4, I reached $10,737, which is an increase of $544. Next, let's look at my savings. So this is just all of my savings together, and this is all in Marcus by Goldman Sachs, my high yield savings account. At the start of Q4, the total balance was $27,863. I did add money to it. I pulled some money to it. It's not something that I keep track of super closely, so I don't really bother with telling y'all those additions and subtractions. But at the end of Q4, my total savings was at $28,239, which is an increase of $376. And this $28,000 is made up of 8 different sinking funds. So sinking funds are just money saved for specific things. The bulk of this though is my emergency fund. So that's over $13,000. And then I would say after that, the highest one is my travel sinking fund, which has over $6,000. But then yeah, I have a number of others. So like car maintenance sinking fund, car insurance, gifts, business, so on and so forth. I did want that to be higher, which we'll talk about because that was one of my goals, but at least it increased, even if it was just a little bit. But yeah, I did want that to be a bit higher than where it's at. Next would be my net worth. So at the start of Q4, my net worth was $117,513. And of course, my net worth is made up of everything that I just talked about. So my retirement accounts, my investments, my savings, all those things, plus my checking account. And this does not include the value of my car, just personal preference. I don't like to count the value of that in my net worth. By the end of Q4, my net worth reached $119,652. I did want this to be higher, but at least it was an increase. So that increased by $2,139. So those are all the numbers. Let's talk about the goals that I set for Q4. First goal was to make $15,000 or more in income, business income. I did not achieve this. As I said before, I made $12,870, so I was close, but fell a bit short. Second goal, I wanted to get my savings to $30,000 or more altogether. So that's what I was talking about. I wanted my savings to be higher. I ended at $28,239, so definitely fell short here. The reason I wanted to get to $32K was because I had reached that at some point earlier in 2024, I believe, like very early on. And honestly, I would just prefer at all times for me to have over $30,000 in cash, like in my high yield savings account, just to feel a little bit more comfortable with things. In Q4, I did pull from a few sinking funds. So I did my giveaway in November, December. So I pulled out $1,000 for my business sinking fund. I also had to pay for my 6-month premium for my car insurance. So I depleted that sinking fund. And then there were a couple of other things that I'm sure I pulled from. I can't think of it off the top of my head. But yeah, increasing my savings is just definitely a work in progress. So we'll eventually get there. And then the final goal that I set for the quarter was to reach a net worth of $125,000 or more, and I did not achieve that. And honestly, I don't really look at these goals after I set them, and I need to do a better job of that. So I'm gonna be more intentional. I'm gonna talk about my Q1 goals right now, but I wanna make sure that I write these down and put them up somewhere so that I'm seeing them on a regular basis, because I set these goals and I really don't remember. And I do like to focus on things on a quarterly basis. Like I think that's really helpful because you can make more progress that way. Like obviously you can achieve more in the year, but you can also break down that year into quarters. And I think if I pay attention to these goals more, I may get closer to them. So that's definitely something I'm going to shift into doing for 2025. So let me talk about the goals for quarter one. I would like to make $20,000 or more from business income. So I increased it a little bit. I know January will be pretty decent, but yeah, I'm definitely working on generating more revenue for February, March, and I hope that I can make this possible. For the whole year, I want to make over $120,000. So that would need to be $30K per quarter. I don't think I can get to $30K for quarter one as of right now, just because basically the money that I receive in January, for example, is based off of the things that happened in December or even before that. That's just the way like online payouts work. So it can be hard to predict, but I'm gonna try my best to hit 20K. Second goal, I would like to put at least $2,000 to my Roth IRA. So I do wanna max out my Roth IRA every year moving forward as long as I'm able to. In 2024, I did max out my Roth IRA basically on the 1st of January, and I wasn't able to do that for this year because I didn't save up that money, but that is okay. I'm still just going to dollar cost average basically my Roth IRA and contribute to it on a monthly basis. But I do wanna get a little bit ahead. So I think in order to max it out for the year, you have to contribute $583 per month, but I want to do 2K in the 3 months. So for January, I'm hoping to do at least 500, and then after that, I'll see what February looks like and March looks like, but 2K altogether. And then final goal for Q1, I'm gonna push this in from Q4. I would like to reach a net worth of $125,000. I think I can hit this in Q1, just because if I do contribute to my Roth IRA, that's going to help. I mean, it does depend on the market. We are having a president change and that could affect things, but As I always say with net worth goals, I don't put too much weight into them just because I don't have full control of it, but I will try my best to increase my savings, increase my income, and then of course increase what I put to retirement and investing. That's everything for Q4. That does wrap up 2024. I have a number of other videos to still wrap up for 2024, so stay tuned for those. Honestly, Q1 is usually a pretty strong time of the year for me as far as like income goes and that sort of thing. So I'm hoping to really front load things while I can. So maybe some of these goals are a bit conservative and I can be more aggressive, but I also don't like to set myself up for disappointment or set myself up for failure. I do like to set goals that feel I do like to set goals that are more in reach and just sound more reasonable to me, like they have to resonate with how I'm feeling. So I am going to try my best to get ahead during Q1, whether that be, putting more to my Roth IRA so I can finish that faster. If I can max it out sooner rather than later, that is the goal. If I can build up my business checking account cushion that I talk about in many of my videos, I will do that. If I can get my emergency fund to 15K or all of my savings together over 30K, that would be great. So we'll just see what happens, but that's what I'm gonna kind of focus on. But yeah, I am gonna make sure that I write down these goals and remind myself of them frequently because I often forget about these quarterly goals, and it's really important to remind yourself of what you are working toward. So that is it for me. Comment down below how Q4 went for you. Thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next one.